I don't know how long you feel like you've been here. I feel like in some ways you got here yesterday, some ways it feels like 5 years already. But I'm really interested. You just took over a major program, an institutional brand in the sport. How long does it take you to feel like you have fully assessed a program and a job when you inherit it?
Yeah, time's flown by. It's hard to believe it's already the beginning of April, and we have 9 practices under our belt here this spring. I think, we got through the first month. And that was, I think it's always different too. We came in the middle of January, and so, your first 30 days or 60 days, it's different if you're hired in December versus the middle of January and kind of where you're at there. So hiring a staff and, kind of keeping the roster intact was a priority. Probably 30 to 40 days in, you kind of had a pretty good idea of kind of where we were at and found a rhythm to the day, kind of a cadence as far as the schedules that we had set, and so it's just been awesome though, seeing these guys respond and seeing the energy they continue to bring and the bar that they've set. There's a lot of high aspirations and goals that we have for this season.
It's interesting when you walk around the building and when you talk to people who have been here from the previous staff and your staff's here now, everybody's really careful to say it's different. Not worse, not better, it's just different. It's a different vibe. You'll feel it when you walk in the building. And of course, we walked in the building today and we felt it. How would you describe the kind of culture and atmosphere that you want to foster?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. Those are some of the exact words I use, an environment that facilitate. Every right coach, and I think you're referring to this, leads in a different way. And there's multiple ways to win a lot of football games. I've seen it as an assistant, and my chances to be an offensive coordinator at different places. I was under a lot of really good head coaches, and they all have their different style, and it does have a different feel, and it's good. And the thing, again, I go back to just appreciating these guys were open to the leadership and the people I've brought in on this coaching staff, but I already referred, the aspirations, the goals are extremely high. We know that's the case and always needs to be the case here at Alabama. But, how we get there and what it feels like and what the day-to-day vibe is, is going to be different no matter who the head coach is going to be.
We've talked a lot about this on our show, but I would love to just hear it from you. There is a phrase, it's almost like bumper sticker logic. Everyone just blindly repeats it. They always say, no one wants to follow a legend. No one wants to be the guy after a legend. A lot of people think that way. Obviously, not everyone thinks that way. So when this opportunity was presented to you, how did you view the opportunity?
Yeah, I viewed it as Alabama football and a great opportunity, a great job with resources and getting a chance to meet with Greg Byrne, just seeing his vision and how passionate he was about this place and wanting to make sure that the tradition and the pride continue on. It's what I want to be a part of. And I've had a chance, and I don't want to say, and speak in terms relatively to Coach Saban and what's been done here and the amazing job he did for 17 years. But, having had a chance to follow at, other universities, great coaches, a Jeff Tedford and Pat Hill at Fresno State, and Chris Peterson was there not soon before myself at Washington, and you just embrace that. Like it's a privilege and an honor to be at a place like this, and Coach Saban's done an amazing job of putting the foundation in and the infrastructure just that you need to be successful, and so we'll continue to grow it, we'll continue to build on it. And continue to make the alumni and fan base proud.
So we're here, as we're recording, it's April 2nd. I assume you're kind of being immersed into a lot of Southern culture and a lot of things that you've heard about, you view from the outside, but you get it. It could be the cuisine, could have severe weather around here today, so it's a whole new world down here in terms of weather. Buc-ee's gas station, I need you to make a trip there. Like, what about living in the South now has struck you? I know you spend a lot of time at the building, but when you've ventured out of these walls, what are some of the things that already have been like, oh, that's what it's like down here?
Yeah, I don't want to act like I've lived this far south, right? Been in Southern Illinois, recruited down in this area, had a good feel. The South Dakota, honestly, the South Dakota feel is probably one of the more recognizable feels that I have relative to living here, just kind of rural and just kind of those type of things. I understand that there's other pieces to the culture and stuff too. So it is its own kind of different animal here, but it's been just really enjoyable. And what I do know is that the fan base is extremely passionate, and they're just excited about their ball. And whether it's the spring game or just following each and every practice here this spring, it's exciting for myself, our staff, our guys to continue to build and feel the energy and excitement that's taking place as we get ready for 2024.
The whole talent acquisition aspect of college football, we used to just call that recruiting, but now you kind of lump it all in with NIL and the portal. When you guys came here, immediately you tried to retain guys as best you could, and some you were successful on, others hit the exit door. That is what it is. You can't control that. So there's this perception that this post-spring portal window, you guys will be able to be very active there, maybe more on the receiving end. Immediately when you walk in, is that something you just look at and you say, all right, let's hold on. If we can get to there, then we'll make up some ground? Because that used to not be the way it worked. You used to inherit a job and you kind of got the roster you've got in year one. Yeah. So what's it like now to know, no, there's this half a month period coming up where we can tangibly address this year's roster?
Yeah, I think, as you said, they're in January. The thing you realize that I know you do is we're a 12-2 team. A national semifinal team, and so the talent that is here is a high level of talent. And there's guys that go to the NFL, and there were some guys that had entered the portal even before either coach retired or I had an opportunity to get the announced as the head coach. So that was what it was. But really, our only opportunities, other than maybe a few guys that were out there in the portal, was to make sure that we really worked with our current roster and kept the great talent that was here, all in line. And again, I applaud our players. They really believed in this place. They believed in the message that was sent, starting with Greg Byrne through the staff that was continuing to work and operate each and every day here. And they believed in themselves. They believed that if they stuck together, that we could continue on this path that they've been on in this journey. And so we did. We dove full into our roster, really trying to build a staff and keep the roster at the same time. A lot of long days, but I think we did a really good job. I think the staff is great with building relationships, and I think the players really enjoyed their personalities. And we've come a long ways even since those early days. And going into this next portal window, there are some scholarships that we have available where we can fill some gaps in, whether it be numbers or just talent, that we need to maybe get out on the football field at some high-end spots. So we'll keep our eyes and ears open for sure. And when the right opportunities come up, we'll certainly be aggressive there.
How clear is it when you immediately inherit a roster, and you guys especially open spring ball, in relation to that post-spring portal window? I know there may be some areas where, red Sharpie, circle it, we got to address this. And then there may be others where as spring goes on, you say, maybe that is a little more of a position of need as we want to install our thing here. Maybe we don't have the pieces we need. How much of that evolves throughout spring as to who you need to pick up?
I think we had a pretty good idea even going into spring just because of sheer numbers. And it's pretty easy. I mean, anyone can look at our roster or see who entered the portal and see that there was a couple position groups that we're just short at, a defensive backfield, offensive line, just those numbers that you normally have, they aren't where they would normally be and where we'd like them to be. So, we gotta be ready there. And so it has nothing to do with even the level of talent that's on the football field for us or us being nervous in that way. It's all about just making sure you got enough guys to get through the season. DBs, and they're involved with special teams as well. In a lot of those reps. So we gotta make sure that we have the right numbers for the most part. You never hit exactly on the marks that you have set, but we need to be a little closer than where we are right now.
There's this belief in the South that I think has some truth and then a lot of fiction to it, that only certain people are cut out to recruit in the South. And there's this tendency from folks who have been born and bred down here to look at outsiders who come in and say, won't work out here. And on the streets, I'm paying attention so you don't have to on the streets. I know you've heard this. A lot of people say, how well is that staff going to recruit down here? I've always maintained the formula for recruiting the South is just relentless work and then knowing people, with the emphasis on people instead of the emphasis on knowing. And so I looked at you guys at Washington, and there was never a criticism about how much you worked. There's not been a criticism here of how much you've worked. And then I've looked at the logs of the official visitors you've had here and how many guys you just had on campus. I've never seen that many roll through here. I know the Ryan Williams piece is kind of the immediate North Star everyone looked at and said, landed him pretty quickly, but just looking out, how do you expect recruiting to go? How equipped do you guys feel, and what is your philosophy on that?
Yeah, I don't think you could deny that. I haven't spent a lot of time recruiting at the intense level that is needed to here in the SEC, and so it was important for me to surround myself with guys either who were really familiar with the area, familiar with even the faces that were in the next cycle or two, the 25s, the 26s, so forth, or guys that were just elite recruiters in general. And I think we have a great combination on our staff. I've been very blessed to surround myself with a recruiting staff led by Courtney Morgan, and he did a great job of putting some of those pieces together to fill in the gaps that we felt were necessary to take care of those areas maybe that we were wanting to make sure we were on top of here early. And I think it's led to really good results here. As you said, there's been a lot of visitors to campus, and every time they come, they leave feeling really good about what they saw, what they felt, and it's opened up some doors again that I think at one point were maybe closed. Doesn't mean we get all of those guys, whether it's next year or the year after, but we're back in the game and continue to build those relationships.
No one else will ever ask you this, I promise you. Have you ever seen the movie Devil Wears Prada?
I have not.
Okay, well, don't waste your time. But there is a scene in there where Meryl Streep, that's who it is, right? Yeah. So Meryl Streep meets so many people. She can't remember the names. She just has an assistant there to whisper the names in her ear. How many people have you met since you got here? And how are you retaining those names? Because I think that would be the secret biggest challenge of taking this job.
Yeah, you're right. It is a lot. It starts with your own roster and even the people in your building. And so constantly having access and becoming efficient with it and having staff help me out, just pictures of our roster, in different spots, whether it's digitally or just
is there like a flashcard every day?
It almost is that. And so, it started with that to make sure when you walk down the halls, you know who the players are you're talking with and the staff. And then it continues to add on, and you really have to be intentional on trying to remember and even asking again, before you leave that you got the names right. But I enjoy it. I can't say I'm great with it, but I do really purposely, be very purposeful on trying to remember. I think that's a big part of even the recruiting is when families come in, really trying to pay attention to who the names are of the parents and so forth. And my staff, we got a group that cares about those things. And again, I use the word intentional a lot, but we're very intentional on that area.
I think a lot of us who are diehard college football folks, we knew of you already, Fresno State and before, we knew of you. Maybe the casual fan had you pop on their radar when you guys started doing things at Washington the last couple of years. Did you just copy and paste who you were to there, or were there some foundational things that evolved about you even as you were at Washington? What's changed the most over the past couple of years, would you say?
The foundational things I think are really the same, but I think your experiences that you have and the people, that go through it with you, that you have at different places, and the ones that, Kane Womack or those that I've coached with or ran into it, maybe they hadn't worked with them at Washington or Fresno, but have relationships with. It's been good to kind of get everyone together. But I think the foundational piece, the core values, they're the same. The pyramid I use, or what I call the pyramid, it's in that shape, starting with our core, working to the peak. It's really got the same things on there. It's just got a different backdrop, because I believe that there is a recipe to how we've built teams and built programs, whether it was when I was a player and a coach at the University of Sioux Falls and how I saw what a 2-8 culture looked like versus a 14-0 culture, and what led to that. Those are the things that we have as the recipe or the foundation to how we want to do things. But your experiences and how to make things better, and the people you put around you and the great ideas they bring to the table, they're all really important, and we are going to utilize all of that here at Alabama. Sometimes
it's interesting, you mentioned going all the way back to Sioux Falls, playing baseball, you used to always hear guys when they'd get called up from AA, AAA, and then you get to the show, all of a sudden you try and do more than what got you there. And one of those young pitchers always needs a pitching coach or a manager to say, we brought you here because you were doing what you were doing. You don't need to change that. Yeah. From a foundational standpoint, like core beliefs, the pyramid that you're talking about, could you just talk a second about how there are things that work at every level? Like there are foundational principles of success that work no matter where you are, and how hard it is sometimes to maybe remind people that you don't need to do anything different. Like, we're here, we got this job because that stuff works.
Yeah, I think there's, first of all, like who do you want to be? Like, so we talk a lot about being first class. We talk about being, men of integrity, a staff of integrity. We talk about the importance of academics because I think there's it's all relative. If you can take care of academics and things like that, that's less distractions. It's getting the right people in the program that make it enjoyable to talk about football, and you're not worried about, you didn't go to class here, or your grades, and you're going to have to be off the football field a couple days here to worry about school. So the priorities being in a good place, or at least understanding and importance of getting a degree, class integrity, academic excellence is a big piece of that. And then I think you really work into the team piece and your culture, and it's having some type of chemistry. So we refer to it as our family, and families, it's not always perfect, right? They have spats, they have times and feuds that they go through, but in the end, we all want the same thing for each other, and there's a care, and that will hopefully build to a love that we have, and us all, wanting the same thing for each other. And accountability, is really important. It's us being accountable to ourselves and then to each other, whether it's coaches to coaches or players to players and coaches to players, and that relationship that exists there. And then I think there's a toughness that has to exist, and it's mental and physical toughness. And you could go on, but I think those are really some of the key things when we talk about our non-negotiables. We talk about family, accountable, and tough.
When you met with your roster, when you got here, how long does that take, first off, to meet with every player? And secondly, what were some of the most common pieces of feedback that you got?
I tried to meet with, it was just, again, so intense kind of in the moment as you're trying to build a staff. Met multiple team meetings, just trying to keep guys, a team abreast of what, the staff was that we were hiring. When we had introductions, we get everyone together. They did get into, the winter workouts, so there were some touch points there. As we just kind of position groups, got a chance to get into those meeting rooms. And I think there were a lot of one-on-one meetings, just kind of guys that needed to, have them, or guys that requested them. And, I think some of those are still happening, and I try to, again, be very, very intentional, purposeful on trying to have those touch points with guys. And, when you got 5 minutes, 10 minutes here and there, getting to know them better. And then we will, of course, have our end of the spring one-on-ones here coming up after A-Day.
When I got my job, I tried to do a 30, 60, 90-day plan, and it went out the window very quickly. Your job is slightly more complicated than mine. Do you even try to do the 30, 60, 90? And if so, like, how quick does the Etch-a-Sketch board just get erased and things start to get redefined?
Yeah, I know, going back, probably 10 years ago, and the opportunities that came up, there was, I've just kind of paid attention to what it is when you move from a job to job, and you come in, and I think about going to be an assistant even at Eastern Michigan or at Fresno, and you come in as a new staff. You understand the timeline of what you need to do, like you said, during those first 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it might be. And so the priorities and, the order of what it should look like. It's just a matter of how much it gets scrunched down into. And, and then some of the decisions that you got to make as far as, okay, this needs to just be put on hold here because it's not as big of a deal, and we'll get to it. That was certainly the case here. Taking a job at Washington on December 1st was much different than taking a job at Alabama on January 12th. And so much different deal. But those experiences and those kind of priorities that I had, they were kind of a baseline for me to be able to hit the ground running. And, I think make the most of each and every day, and, getting a staff around me that was at least informed and, organized in our pursuit.
You mentioned the time frame there and how it was later in January. I think a normal person would probably fall victim to, let's just throw one together. We'll get it fixed a year from now. We'll get it fixed in December. Let's just make sure we got something in place. Let's have a staff in place. And yet this year counts. Like everything counts. And so how do you balance trying to be thorough but also trying to get things in place ahead of spring football?
Yeah, to me it was all about getting the right people, and getting the right people in the building, players and staff. That was the key. And when you get the right people, they figure it out, and you give them the guidelines and kind of designate kind of who's in charge of what. And fortunately, there were some great people here in the building as well that really were able to give me a head start on that. And I think, like a Dave Ballou in strength and conditioning, I mean, he just hit the ground running with the plan and the program that he had already in place, and so that plan was going to start, a week or two, after I got here. And, he just instituted that, and that led to our fourth quarter program with our workouts. And that was one of those, we'll continue to evolve that. I'll add my personal touches to it, but it's in a great place. It didn't need to be really changed. And, there's other areas that are very similar to that I just let the great ones who continue to have their positions, do their thing. Guys, some of our alumni that just do an amazing job with our player development program. Let them just stay the course. And their touch points were really critical because they had a great message to our players, and they were able to kind of be a pulse of the team, both to me and the other way as well. So some of those things were in place, and just continue to try to bring the right people into the building in all these areas that we needed to hire over the last couple months. Right
now, you guys are one scrimmage in to spring.
Yeah.
And so you've seen what you've seen so far. You guys brought Austin Mack in the quarterback room via the portal. You inherited Jalen Milroe. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really interested, just 20,000 foot, what's your assessment been of the roster you have so far and what you guys could ultimately be?
Yeah, I think the first scrimmage was good. There's some learning lessons. Probably penalties was the first thing, and that just tells you that there's a lot of guys still thinking, and penalties that were, pre-snap penalties and false starts, or, just a couple things here and there. So, that's been already better here this week. And it's just more of the guys, wanting to be great. And, they've responded to that, challenged them. They knew it when we were on the field. But the first scrimmage, really, I was really pleased. Both sides of the ball had their moments. From a head coach standpoint, you don't want one side dominating the other. I know that's not how you are as a coordinator or a position coach. You want your side to have the best day possible. But I really felt the give and take was good. Position-wise, you brought the quarterback position up. Yeah, certainly Jalen brings a skill set that's very unique, dual threat, can do a lot of things with his legs, but also just got an extremely strong arm, continues to learn the offense, become more comfortable, and he's got some great quarterbacks also in that room around him that have done some really good things. I mean, all four of our guys that have taken the reps, you see why they're here, and they bring great value, and you would feel pretty comfortable with any of them out there on the football field, and so they've all really raised their game. I love the way that they work together. They're competing at the same time while they're trying to help build our football team.
I'll wrap up with this. You are going to go into a lot of really incredible road environments in the SEC. You've got an incredible home environment. That's what I love about covering this conference. From a head coach's perspective, what's the thing or things you look most forward to experiencing for the first time?
Yeah, I think just the challenge, right? Each and every week, you're going to get everyone's best shot. I've been a part of that. There's a bullseye target, on your chest, and it's great. It's fun. It's a privilege to be in that spot to where you're going to get someone's best shot and be pushed to your limits. I think a lot of people, say that, and then they get in that moment and then they kind of back off in the corner, and I think we got a football team of guys that either are used to that because they've been through it the last year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it might be, or you got guys that came into it, excited and hungry to be in that position and embrace the pressure that comes along with expectation. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for those challenges that come our way. I think we're laying down a great foundation again in how we're going to operate when those big moments come, from a mindset standpoint, and just developing a belief and an attitude, creating confidence through our preparation.
Kalen DeBoer, this was incredible, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you. Appreciate you being here.